Hello again, Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, back for more Malifaux, this time Guild Autopsies. Fairly straightforward color scheme, Moldy skin 09149. Created chiefly by Dr. McMorning, Guild Autopsies are made of slain Guild patrollers, formerly known as Guild Guards. And while he was still employed with the Guild, would forge paperwork and even commit acts of murder against his fellow members of the Guild to keep his story straight, more or less. And now that he has gone full-time Resurrectionist again, I say again because the dual faction thing was new to 2nd edition, and Warning was originally a Resurrectionist. He has been continuing to make Guild Autopsies, and much like Nicodeme, the Undertaker, his reasoning was to try to make a better zombie. Although in early vignettes it was mentioned that about half the time the Guild Autopsies tried to shoot with their sword and stab with their guns, but they do have oh, a little mixed up. Okay, I'm going to apply that to the rest and let it dry. Moving on. Okay, oh, this really does not want to cooperate right now. Rainy Gray 09038. Screw it, I'm just going to go for it and want to get this done. Oh, I had it for a second. Okay. So I'm just getting hair with this. A little bit there. And then a bit here. So I'm using just enough water to thin the paint. I'm keeping my brush moist but not overly wet. And Templar Blue 09056. Get the pants. This is a nice color for, this is a nice triad color for denim jeans. Okay. Oh boy, I got no grip today. It's August, it's hot, and I can't open any windows because there's a forest fire going on. Alright, let that dry completely and move on to the next base coat. Alright, Fur Brown. This is an Army Painter color that was a substitute for the oiled leather in the Reaper series. And again, I'm using just enough water to thin the paint, keeping the brush moist but not overly wet. And I found with this, I generally need to put a second coat on, so I'll do that off camera. Boots. And belts. And coats and gloves. Being real careful here, I want to get the interior of the coat, but not the desiccated flesh next to it. This will go on the hat as well to complete the outfit. Now with base coats and shading, I get every nook and cranny I can, but with highlighting, I only do the most readily visible areas. The autopsies have a lot of undercuts on them, especially with the coats. So just something to be aware of. I might have confused the story of the Guild Autopsies mixing up their weapons with a bit of fiction from War Machine involving some pharaoh, but I'm not certain what is called that. What is it, the Mandela effect, I think? Whatever, I think I remembered it wrong, so at least I caught my mistake. And then to make the hat match as well, being careful around the hair and where it comes up to the head. Okay, let that dry completely. Oh, I got a little in the eye. Just a little water, just kind of blot that out. That's one way to clean up paint, is to just blot it out with some water and soak it up with your brush. One more here, so I will apply that to the rest. Put a second coat on once it dries, and then move on. And my system's gonna go bonkers again. Alright. Next, I think we'll go ahead and go with Tarnished Steel 09206. I don't know why I have so much trouble saying Tarnished Steel, but whatever. I'm going to do a once over on the blades of their broken swords. Doing them shiny instead of rust. Yeah, I'm doing them shiny instead of rusty because while they are damaged and broken, they are not used. I'm just going to do just straight up steel on the revolvers as well. I may pick out some other colors later. Okay, almost forgot something. Belt buckles. Apply to the rest and move on. Okay, next up, Cloudy Gray 09089. And this is going to go on the bases. Okay, I'm using just enough water to thin the paint. And this is a custom sculpting bit of bait. Oh boy, this is a custom sculpting base insert. Oh boy, I slaughtered the English language again. Just a layer of sculpting putty with a pattern carved in while it's still wet, and the model glued on top after the putty is dried. Oh boy, way too hot today. Alright, apply that to the rest and move on. Alright. No, that isn't it. Old Bronze 09197. Okay. I don't need too much of this. Gonna get this brace hammered through the ankle here. Probably to keep a broken bone stable so this shambler can walk. I'm gonna get the hilt, the broken and refurbished sword. And apply that to any other little details. And I can start shading. Alright, time to shade. Aged Pewter 09196. Don't need much of this. Thinning with 1 part water to 1 part paint, making it into a wash. Carefully go over the bronze. Alright, apply that to the rest and move on. Oh boy, this camera is still fighting me. Alright. Pure Black 09037. Just take a little dot. And this will be the shade on the hair. Wanted to get this before I got the hats. I just want to make sure I get it. Yep, right there. Okay. Apply to the other and move on when this dries. Alright. Blackened Steel 09205. Going over the revolver and the blade, the sword, and the belt buckle. Okay, and apply to the rest, let it dry, and move on. Alright, Ruddy Leather 09109. The smoke out here from the forest fires is getting better, but it's still pretty noticeable. And this is just going over the fur brown that I used for the hats, gloves, and the coats. As a pool up in the recessed areas, make them seem darker, especially in conjunction with the highlight that will go over to make the raised areas appear brighter. help before I forget to. And being careful not to nick the blade I've already shaded just go underneath there. Again, keeping the brush nice and wet during all this. And okay, that's good. Apply to the rest and move on. Alright, next, Breonne Blue 09055. This one's about gone, but I have enough to work with. And a spare on hand should I need it. Going over the denim to complete the whole cowboy look. Okay, apply to the rest, let it dry, and move on. Okay, Ghoul Skin 09148. And I've been favoring this sculpt for the last few clips just because he's got a nice large volume of surface area to work with here and show these colors. Just going over the desiccated undead skin. Fairly standard issue color scheme, but it does work well. Nothing too fancy. Pretty much a dead looking cowboy that happens to have a sword in addition to a gun. Okay, apply that to the rest, let it dry, and I can move on, get some details. Okay. Rainy Gray 09038. This is just going to be a detail used to fill in their eyes. That's what I'm going to do before I shade the base, which is going to be the last of that. And this has a really funny lid. Going for a smaller brush. Get it nice and pointy. Just filling in with a lifeless looking gray. Just dabbing it in there. want to go back to this one. Stormy Gray 09088. And once again, thinning with 1 part water to 1 part paint. And just going over the stonework, which is again a bit of custom sculpting. Just a layer of sculpting putty in the recess, coupled with a quick pattern carved in with a tool, in this case uneven stonework to represent the ramshackle streets of the slums of Malifaux, with the model glued on top after the putty dries. Get the rest of them shaded, and then I can start highlighting. Alright, time to highlight. Bloodless Skin 09150. Going to need a ragged feathered brush, something along the lines of that. Straight paint only, no water. Rubbing most of the paint out on a paper towel until it looks like there's nothing left. And then dusting the area to be affected, going against any raised areas. I want to especially get all the veins sticking out on this woman's corpse here. And yeah, this one is clearly meant to be a woman. I'm just going to do them all real quick right here. These nice big bulging veins are really catching the paint. The desiccated flesh. This one brings to mind Jodon Baker, an American actor who has been in several movies lampooned on my favorite show, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Right. Going against the knuckles, we can try get all the raised areas to help catch the paint. That's it for that color. Ashen Blue 09057. I'm switching brushes pretty freely. You do want your brush very dry for this. Going against the wrinkles in the pants. You can really see how that catches the highlight here. I'm focusing on the most readily visible areas, so I won't do the leg that's under the coat there. So these areas are going just to stay in shadow. Take pure black 09037 again. And that was a tiny one. Just get the hair there. And on the other one, sporting locks. Burnt orange 09110. 1-1. And I just punched out my bottle of paint there. Yeah, this one will do. So I might notice that all these autopsies have stitched up wounds in their abdomens. It's generally part of a conventional autopsy, which McMorning likely conducts out of habit or just for style, before he reanimates these unfortunates as his mindless minions. It may seem surprising that with the likes of Lady Justice in the Guild, McMorning managed to cover his tracks for so long, but that's something he was very, very good at. And one of the second edition vignettes actually had a group of inspectors, I can't remember if there were death marshals or not, sent in to investigate McMorning's office. And he killed them to replace the autopsies they were looking for, the bodies they were looking for that he'd already turned into guild autopsies. And there is a major bit in the 3rd edition guild book, Lady Justice's section, about a particular guild autopsy. I'm not going to say anything more than that. Don't like spoilers. They're definitely in a... If you want to find it, you can find it. But we are definitely in a culture where there are people who love just ruining things for others for no reason at all. Alright, let's do Tarnished Brass 09198. It's funny, I can say Tarnished Brass, but not Tarnished Steel very well. It's weird. Checking on my system, looks reasonably well. Alright, getting the hilt of the sword in this leg brace, or splint, you might call it. Whatever it is, it's drilled into the guy's leg. These swords almost look more like fencing foils than long swords or slashing blades, but true silver 09207. And who knows? Guild controllers get, again, inexpensive equipment. I think some of it's even listed as refurbished, but they work with what they got. And what they got is not a whole lot. His belt buckle's a little more visible. Shine up that gun. Just about done. This is the last one. Or second to last highlight. I'm getting a little mixed up. I keep leaving out the base. That is very much part of it. That jiggle on the sword blade makes me nervous, but it should be alright. Now the actual last highlight, Misty Gray 09090. That's just going to go on the base. Now with the eyes, I like to get those done before I highlight because in most cases the eyes are in sort of a recessed area in the model. So the highlight usually catch around it but not going over the eyes. But on the gun barrels, which I'm about to detail in a minute here, a lot of them are just on flat areas. So the highlight will interfere with that. So I do those last. And another aspect of doing the eyes before highlighting is you can use your highlight to cover up if your eye ends up going past the actual area. It is not easy to do the eyes and pupils on a model with a head the size of a BB. So going into the pure black again, 09037, I'm going to need a fair bit of this. Because first, I'm going to take a detail brush and just fill in gun barrels here, here, and here. And then switching to a flathead brush. That's the one I like. There it is. And I'm just going to clean up the base here. Trying to go up to the edge of the stonework without going over. Alright. Oh, can't get out there. Apply that to the rest, and one more step I can do on camera after it's all dried up. Alright, final step, that white. Going to number the backs of the bases so I can quickly and easily tell them, well, okay, let's back up a bit. By putting the number on the corresponding reference card, I'm getting a little tongue-tied again, oh boy. I can clearly designate which model as having taken which amount of damage, etc. I am really talking awkwardly right now, so Roman numeral 1. And a quick Roman numeral 2. Okay, let's try that again. Put my brush a little pointier. 2. More even. And 3. Okay, that takes care of that. Just need to varnish them once this dries. And that is it. Guild Autopsies from the Resurrectionists faction Malifaux. Alright, switching factions, but keeping with Malifaux for the next video, something short and green. Until next time, I am Ian Stuckey with Mastermind Games, signing out.